So you have a tool and technique here called risk probability and impact assessment. Essentially, as we have explained, probability is the likelihood that a risk event will occur. Likelihood that a risk event will occur. Yes. Impact in its own case is like the severity, the impact of that risk event on the project. That is, if the risk occurs, what will it cause? What is the impact? So impact on scope, impact on schedule, impact on cost, quality, performance, impact on the project. So that's impact. It's also called severity. So all of these apply to specific risk events. All of these apply to specific risk event. That is, we are asking for a particular risk event, what is probability of occurrence? For a particular risk event, what is the impact? So we are going individual now. We are analyzing each risk individually, getting the probability and assessing the impact. So high likelihood, that is risk events of high probability, high consequence, that is risk events of high impact. This is an example of a risk event that must be managed aggressively. So based on your risk probability and impact, you're able to identify the ones that have the highest probability of occurrence and highest impact, and those are the ones you want to manage aggressively. You want to throw a lot of resources at them. The least risk that have low probability and impact rating, those ones will be relegated to a watch list. Okay, so the risk matrix is one of the simplest and most effective tools to analyze risk. It's one of the simplest and most effective tools to analyze risk. Okay, it has probability on one axis and has impact on the other axis. So, and then it also uses a numerical scale like 1 to 10, or you could use subjective, low, medium, high, or any other one. So the organization should determine the threshold of risk that can be tolerated. For example, you could say, okay, any risk that has a probability impact rating of above a particular number is regarded as high risk. The one that has between something and something is regarded as medium risk or moderate risk. Then the ones that are lower than something, is regarded as low risk. So the score on your risk probability and impact matrix is what will now determine, that's what will guide the risk response strategy that you want to use on the project. Okay, now this is an example of our risk probability and impact matrix. On the x-axis, that is on the horizontal axis, you have the impact. On the y-axis, that is on the vertical axis, you have probability. So probability. So the PI, probability and impact, is what gives us the risk score. So this is a plot, a matrix, plotting probability and impact together. So PI, probability, PI. No, sorry, the risk score is PI, probability times impact. So if the probability is 0.90, that's very high probability. But the impact is 0.05, very low impact. Okay, the risk score there would be 0.04 something, 49 something, but approximately 0.05. So by the time you are multiplying the intersection of the probability and impact, you are going to have this kind of matrix. So it is now for the organization to define, to say which risk, what defined to be high risk, high impact, which one is defined to be low risk, low impact. Okay, so anytime you have your PI, your risk score, you're supposed to come and look it up on this graph to now on whatever graph you draw, because this is just a sample matrix. whatever tabulation or matrix you come up with, you know. So once you have that and you have defined your risk thresholds, so it's going to guide you on how you manage the various individual risk events. It's also possible that you have a different matrix for threats and for opportunities. For example, you could have a project that is more risk averse for threats than opportunities. So that will affect the range of acceptable tolerances or limits in your interpretation of this table.